Give it just a few more whacks. All right, I'm switching to the big guns. Thor's hammer. Hey guys, welcome to Dirt Gear TV. I've got a little bonus for you guys here, and what we're going to be doing is replacing the wheel bearings on the KTM. Front wheel bearings, rear wheel bearings. Both of these are from All Balls. For wheel bearings, All Balls are probably one of my favorite go-to bearings. There's a lot of good ones on the market. You can even get automotive bearings in the right size and those will last you forever. I love this bike, but it just kills wheel bearings like you wouldn't believe. In fact, let me show you how bad the rear is. Oh, that's got a good 1/4 inch, maybe more of play in it, and the front is no better. So that's the reason why we're replacing the bearings. We're going to make a good project. Okay, first thing we want to do, get our big old wrench. Obviously, we got to remove the wheels. We are replacing wheel bearings for crying out loud, so it helps to take the wheels off. That's loose. Once you get your axle nut off, you just want to give it a little taparoo. You can grab yourself like a socket extension. I'm just using the wrench. Without messing with the rest of this, we should be able to just disengage our chain. Hopefully. Yep. There she goes. You can usually do that on most bikes without having to pull apart your chain or take your other sprocket off. The front wheel is the one that's going to be a little tricky. It's not that it's tricky, it's just that there are some steps that are required with the front when you take the wheel on and off that the back is not required. The back you're just torquing down. The front, there's a couple things we're doing. So first of all, I'm going to crack our axle nut here. That one does not need to be super tight. These are 10 mil bolts. So we're going to loosen both sides. Two on this side. Now I'm just going to tap this axle through the same way I did before. All the way through. Once you get it pretty far, you should be able to just pull it out. Alright, so first we're going to work on the front wheel. We've got a couple of bearings, and we've got a couple of seals. The method I'm using to loosen my collar is I'm going to slide a screwdriver through the one side, and I'll give it a little taparoo. Collet comes right loose. Give it a few taps. Second one, pop loose. We've got to dig our seal out, so we're just gonna pop. Yep, just like that. She should pop right out. Ow, I just punched the wheel. All right, these seals are toast. You can just toss them, save them, do whatever you want with them. Don't reuse them though. They're garbage. Left side. Bottom. Top. Booyah. Bottom. Good night. She's out of there. I just happen to have this Redline CV2 synthetic high performance extreme pressure grease that I hardly ever get to use on my projects. So that's what I'm going to be using this time, just because this stuff's super expensive and I feel I can never use it unless I'm rebuilding axles, which I do a fair bit of. So in all fairness, I have used a good bit of it, but I just love this stuff. Get a little bit on the inside there. Now the installation part is the one where you have to show some caution, because knocking out the old bearings, who cares if you damage it? We don't want to damage, obviously, the new bearings. Just to get it started, I'm just using a rubber mallet. You always want to put pressure on the outer race. Do not put pressure on the inner race or you can damage the bearing. So if you guys were tempted to just drop that in and smack it, don't do it, okay? That's not good for your bearing. This is a 1 1/4 inch socket. For me, that 1 1/4 is almost perfect. Probably even more caution when putting our new seals in. Again, we want to lubricate. The side with the spring obviously goes on the inside. You can very easily deform these, and you should be able to actually get it inserted by hand without even having to use a tool. That is why I love that red line grease. Obviously, you need to get your inner tube back into place. We'll get some grease on this side, socket. Let's get it started first. Use your fingers if you can. Much less chance of deformation. There we go. Just make sure you get a little grease on the inside as well. There she goes. Get some grease on the inside of this one. I had to push play on the camera again, and I had grease all over my hands, and I just got a big glob of grease on my microphone dead cat. Dang it. There's no lengths I won't go to, whether it's rebuilding a dune buggy or greasing my dead cat for you guys. That just sounded so inappropriate. Alright, let's get this one in place. I like to wipe the excess grease. There's no reason, especially on the rotor side, and anything that we leave external on this is simply going to pick up dirt and sand and muck like nobody's business. So you want that dry as you can get it. Well, that's it. Our front wheel is done and ready for installation. Very similar process on the rear wheel. I'm going to start by removing those end caps, those two end braces. If they don't want to come loose, you give them a little persuasion with the screwdriver. Oh. And if your screwdriver isn't long enough, well, get a better screwdriver. I don't even know what is happening. And this is why we do tutorials, because now I'm running into an issue I've never had before, where neither of these wants to come loose. Okay, I got the one side out, but the other side, the gear drive side, does not want to come out of there. So sometimes a little bit of brute force is what's needed. There it goes. Wow, that was tough. I'm just glad I didn't damage it. Now, if those were that tough, I have a feeling that our bearings are going to give us a fight here. But we're going to attack this the same way by first pulling our seals out. Ow, I just punched the tire. Why do I keep doing that? Okay, don't lose your clip. This is the one I was worried about because it's all seized up and water and moisture got in there. Woo! It's like fireworks in here. Yeah, buddy. Front. That one's moving. Yes, sir. Okay. One down. Let me show you just how nasty this was. Obviously, it smells terrible. Obviously that has been letting in moisture and festering for some time. And actually that bearing doesn't feel that bad, but it's all rusted out. Look at this inner tube. Gross. Now this is the one that might give us some grief. That bearing, because that moisture's been getting in there and rusting and fouling that thing up, she going nowhere. Now you've got a few options here. I mean, you can get a 3-pound hammer on that. You can get some kind of press or bearing release tool. But I'm going to use the other good method. If you have a bearing that's seized, we're going to use heat. I am going with a very small torch because I don't want to overheat this thing with a large torch. And I'm just going to heat the outside. Woo! She's still giving me a problem on the floor. All right, I'm switching to the big guns. Thor's hammer. Oh boy. Even with Thor's hammer, she ain't moving. Is it going? Get out of there, dude. Oh, good night. Basically, you get the hardest, biggest tools you can. I had to switch to a larger wrench. I had to switch to Thor's hammer, get it on concrete, and just use several rounds of heat and wail on the thing. Just make sure if you're going to that kind of extent to wail on it, that you do take out your C-clip first. Otherwise you're going to feel like an idiot. I've done it. Go ahead and put our seal on this side while we're at it. If you can do that with hand pressure, that's the best way. Make sure you grease the inside of that seal. Okay, almost done. Just like last time, remove excess grease from the outside of the collar and from the outside of your seal. Naphtha. This stuff is strong, strong, strong. It's on a whole other level. You like my little balance point here? Pretty nifty, huh? I think we're going to lose the bike when I lift this off. Oh, nope. It's thinking about going, but it's not. Now, just like the removal of the rear wheel, we should be able to get this reinstalled chain without having to remove any of this. It's done right. Just going to rotate this first. Yes. Now, before I tighten the rear axle, it's a good time to go ahead and check your chain for proper slack. Remember I said the front would be the tricky one? You've got a few things to contend with here with the front that you don't with the rear. There's always getting the brake pads to separate when and where you want them to so you can get the wheel into position. But if you just keep wiggling it around and working it and giving a light tap, it'll go. Now what we want is we want perfect alignment. So I'm going to snug these two. Now what you want to do is you want to depress the front of the bike. Lock your front brake up and give it about 4 or 5 good compressions. Now, without really moving the front handlebars around or doing anything, leaving it right where it's at, you want to snug now the right side. That's it. It sounds silly, but that last part is actually really important. Now, had the rear bearings been changed at the appropriate time on this bike, that wouldn't have been such a task, but that was a little bit of a beast. I'm glad it gave me some trouble so you guys could see. What worked for me was a couple applications of heat, Thor's hammer, and sitting on a concrete, floor. I hope this video helped you dirt bike guys out a little bit. Thanks for watching Dirt Gear TV. I'll see you guys in the next video very soon.